He is the executive producer of the Americas. I appreciate, Mike, you coming by and talking about the Americas. Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, very welcome. Nice to talk to you.
How did it all start? How did you learn about this project? And it's very, very intriguing because I think having something educational like this is so important to really keep the listeners and viewers really understand this by watching it on NBC and Peacock.
Well, how it started is a bit of a legend, really, now, because I'd done Planet Earth, and I was thinking about what would be the next massive project to do that isn't a Planet Earth. Is there anywhere on Earth that has that sort of scale and ambition? I looked at Africa, I looked at North America, to South America, and thought it doesn't really have that. And then I thought, hold on a minute. North America is joined to South America. Animals don't think of them as two different continents. Could you do the two of them together? I thought, oh, somebody must have done that. Looked around, nobody had. So I thought, right, I need to do this quick before somebody else has this idea, because it has all the best stories you could possibly imagine. All the A-list animals, all the ultimates, all the extremes. It's a filmmaker's gift. So went to NBC, pitched the idea, told them it was called The Americas, and they said, well, we're the voice of America. This is great. 5 years later, here we are. That's how we've done it.
Wow. So kind of tell us, I mean, it's so great who you have involved in this project, but tell us a quick overview of it.
Well, it's an unusual presentation in that because it's such an extraordinary place and it's got so much romance about it. I thought the way to do this is almost like a safari, a super journey, going from all the kind of hot spots, the coolest places you could ever imagine visiting in this place, which have the best landscapes, the best animals, the best animal behavior, and the best stories to tell about those animals, how they survive and cope with living in these places. So each week we go to one different place, whether that's the frozen north, or whether that's the Gulf Coast, or whether that's the Amazon or the Andes or Patagonia or the Wild West, Caribbean. Each time you get a unique insight into why the place is and what lives there and how they survive. And how we're doing it, as Tom is, we've got this great guide. You know, all the best journeys should have a guide, and Tom Hanks is the ultimate guide. He has this wonderful way of saying, come with me, you're never going to believe what you've seen here. This is extraordinary. Look at this. So you get this sense that you're experiencing and learning and experiencing the wonder alongside as he does. And what we're also trying to do is, when we tell these stories about the animals, of course, they're extraordinary things they do. But we're also saying, actually, what they do is not unlike the sorts of things that we have to do in our lives, the same challenges, you know, finding a mate, looking after your young, finding food, making sure you don't get into trouble. All these things are very, very relatable. And again, Tom, that lovely warmth he has, gives you that sense of, yeah, we're not so different. And because of that, we have this kind of kinship, brotherhood with these animals, which I think is really important, because I really want people to feel part of nature and love nature, so that they'll look after it, because it is fragile.
Absolutely. 10 parts series premieres on Sunday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern, with 2 back-to-back episodes. Thanks again, Mike. Appreciate it. And the Americas, check it out.
Got yard waste? Drop it off hassle-free at the Bethel Park Municipal Public Works Building from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on select Saturdays. What does yard waste mean? Grass clippings, shrubbery trimmings, tree branches, and leaves. Grass and leaves should be placed in paper bags only. No plastic bags, please. For tree branches, the maximum sizes accepted are 4 inches in diameter and 36 inches long. We will not accept whole trees that have been cut down or entire truckloads of branches. We hope this helps as you begin cleaning your yard during the upcoming spring and summer season. Let's keep our community clean and green. Mark your calendar and spread the word.
versus Lopez with Mayan Lopez and Matt Shively. Guys, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
I'm doing great. Neil, how about you, man? Are you doing great?
I'm doing pretty
You're doing
fantastic.
pretty
Thanks
good.
for asking.
Fantastic. You know, at the end of the tour, you know how it is. All right, so let's kind of jump really quickly, specifically Matt. How is it working with Mayan, and how's that chemistry developed through the process once you start working together?
It's a dream come true. I this show has changed me in such an insane way. I mean, I am 100% not the person I was when I started it, and I have her to thank for that. I think the thing that's been great for both of us is when the show came to us, we were kind of at a point in our lives where we felt like we needed to prove something to ourselves about ourselves, and so we're very much a partnership. And anytime we have issues or anything like that on set, we always go to each other, and we can always talk each other off the ledge. And so it's been really cool to kind of just go on this journey together, and I wouldn't ask for a better partner.
All right. How about you, Mayan? What are your thoughts?
No,
She doesn't like me.
No, I completely agree. It's like I'm an only child, and the Lopez family in real life is incredibly small. It's really just me and my dad. And I feel like now with this show, I have, 5 other family members. I think truly like Matt as like really one of my best friends, but I think just as a performer, you hope to have someone that you can feel that you can trust completely, and he knows what I'm going to do before I do it. I know what he's going to do, and that's like the best thing in comedy, and it's very rare. And so I feel incredibly grateful to create with this guy over here.
Sounds fantastic
nice.
for
And it shows on
sure. And
screen,
Matt, kind of explain your character, Matt, to people and how you got introduced to the Lopez family.
His character, I don't think he ever thought he was going to be in this place. I know he always loved Mayan, but they had an unplanned pregnancy.
When
But
they were in high school.
I think both of them were always meant to be parents, and I think that's kind of, even at the young age that they were when they had the child, it was kind of a situation where it was terrifying, but at the same time, specifically for Quentin, I think he was born to be a dad, and that is, at that point, he's then thrown into the fact, at that point, George was not a part of the picture. It was just Rosie, and he thought Rosie was probably the hardest person to deal with. And then George enters, and he really has to accept the change, and then also help Mayan deal with all that. But again, I think that's where it was great for Mayan, because I don't think she would have found anybody that could have handled it better than Quentin did.
Yeah. And
It's a
George
good
is gonna have a
conversation.
beautiful-
It's a good conversation to have that conversation about parenting and how the challenges are, how to kind of keep the relationship going with the children, especially in different types of rocky situations or unplanned situations, right, Mayan?
Yes, very much so. I think being able to show Mayan as a teenage mom that's had to overcome losing her job, trying to find a new career, I think even showing that it's possible is something that's great, that she's a strong woman, just like her mother. We have 2 strong Latina leads, like raising a young man that now he's 10 years old. So, that comes with the different generations already. But it's new generation alpha, that's what they're called. And even with the season 3, we have George's mother being reintroduced, and that's a old wound that no one really knew about. So that's something that the whole family now gets to rally around George and hopefully give him the healing that he's given to Mayan and the entire family, that they get to really be behind him now. And that's something that you get to see in these last couple of episodes.
Absolutely. And Mayan, what should we expect in the last couple episodes without giving things away? Just kind of.
We go into a hyperdrive.
Yeah.
There's a lot packed in these next 2 episodes. A lot of chaos. But one thing that I'm very excited for, but I've really waited like 3 episodes or 3 seasons
Yeah.
to say, is we have Mario Lopez as Manny Lopez. It's Lopez versus Lopez versus Lopez. I've been waiting to have Mario on, so it's really nice to have all Lopez's in a room.
Yeah.
Jennifer couldn't make it, but
She was busy, but
she was busy. But
She'll be there one day.
She'll be there one day. We'll have a Lopez con.
Yeah.
Where
Hey, you know,
Writing
hey,
it
so it's
down.
cool. Hey, just wait.
Yes.
It's a dream for you, Mayan. Come on now. From TikTok to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
It's pretty
and the
She's
growth
made
wild.
when I
everything
had
else
you on
happen.
when your
So
first when your show just first launched. I had you on, and it's great
Yes.
to see the growth and everything. So everyone needs to tune in to Lopez versus Lopez Fridays on NBC at 8:30, and you catch up on the Peacock app. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks again, and best of luck. And maybe Jennifer's coming soon. Take care, guys.
Did you know that you have access to all of BPTV's great programming in the palm of your hand? Download the Cablecast app today. Search for BPTV and start enjoying all of our latest content on your favorite mobile device. In your home or on the go, download the Cablecast app today and keep your eyes on the pulse of Bethel Park.
Melissa Fomero and Asia Naomi King of Grosse Pointe Garden Society. How are you guys? And thanks for stopping by.
Oh, we're so great. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Melissa, first question for you. Tell us about your character and the premise of the show.
Yeah, so Grosse Pointe Garden Society is a story of four unlikely friends who are part of a garden club who find themselves mixed up in a murder. And my character Birdie joins the club because of her court mandated community service for killing a fountain with her car. And she's really a fish out of water, knows nothing about gardening. But she's also really lost and seeking connection. And so she meets these three characters and really connects with them. And then, eventually they kill someone. So friends for life, BFFs forever.
Interesting. Asia, tell me about your character. And also, I guess a follow-up question for you, Asia, is the fact of the popularity of shows like this. And people love this. Done it. Reminds me of the days of Clue in a lot of ways. And that's really dating myself, Clue.
Hey, I saw Clue. But yeah, people do love a murder mystery, which is why I'm so happy to be on this show. I just think the storytelling is so exciting. And my character, Catherine, is this type A personality who has just this perfectly curated world around her. And she puts forward this facade of perfectionism, but she's kind of crumbling underneath the pressure of all of that, and maybe engages in a little affair, which is, not so great for her marriage. She's working through that though. And we learn so much about her, and all of the characters really are at this juncture in their lives where they're dealing with the tension of who they want to be versus who they are, and trying to figure out how to get there. And then in the midst of all of that, they all become entwined in this murder.
Wow, interesting. And I think that once the murder comes, but we always want to be kept on our edge of our seat. Who is it? Okay, I want to tune into the next week. I think we're missing that. And especially the days of binge watching, we need that, Melissa. We really do need that.
Yeah.
There's still not enough content. I binge too much content. I still need more.
It's so true. And that's, it's fun to have it be a network show that's on weekly. There's so much that happens in every episode. I think it's a really fun one for people to watch with their friends or family, to discuss what you think might be a clue or what you think might be a little Easter egg. And it's a very fast-paced show, but it's also fun to binge also on Peacock. And there's 6 episodes there now for anyone who needs to catch up. I'm so happy we're going to start airing on Fridays at 8 p.m. because then that means you have the whole weekend to watch the newest episode. And it's twisty and turny, and yeah, it's just like a fun escapist kind of show. And I think everybody could use that right now.
I think we all need escapist shows now. Asia, what's happening?
Yeah.
I think where
Yeah.
it's COVID all over again, in my opinion, in the way I've said, oh, I got
Agree.
to
Hard agree.
So I'm like, okay, well, what's happening? But I think that people need to have that escape, and seeing other people's lives in turmoil is what people like, Asia, right? But in a funny way, not a really
In a
sad way.
funny way. Yeah, no, and that's the great thing about the show. There's like this underlying dark comedy with all of it, and I find our characters so relatable. Like you can see yourself reflected in any one of these characters and what they're going through, and like that's also what makes it fun because you're watching them do stuff, and you're sitting there in your house going, "Don't do that." Don't say that.
Yeah.
You know, like, right. And it just keeps people on the edge of their seat because like, you know, if you were in that situation, how you would respond and react. And people love being able to see themselves reflected in the characters they watch on TV.
So, Melissa, what's your hope for the show? What do you want to happen with it? What's your thoughts?
Oh man, that everyone watches it and we become a huge hit and we get to do this for many more seasons because I love this group of people. And I've had such a fun time working with this cast, with our fantastic crew in Atlanta. And I've had so much fun playing this character. I don't want it to end. I want to wear more crazy fashion and say more crazy things in scenes. And yeah, and so hopefully the ride continues. I also like want to know what happens in the all the twists and turns of this world. Like there will be some things at the very end of the season that are, you know, cliffhangery, and I need to know what happens. So please watch so that I can find out, and then we can find out together.
Exactly, Asia. And I think that you have the same mind, but what about your viewers? What do you want them to get out of this?
Oh, I just want them to be able to sit back with their friends and family and have something really fun to gossip about. So if you're missing that thrilling, sexy, darkly comedic, twisty, turny, delicious, fun show in your life, this is the ride for you.
I love it.
Yes.
All right. So everyone needs to tune in to NBC Grosse Pointe Garden Society Friday at 8 p.m. And you can catch up on the Peacock app. I love Peacock. I always binge different shows on there. Everyone needs to go get the Peacock app and catch up that way and tune in Friday, 8 p.m. I appreciate it, guys.
Exciting news! The Bethel Park Job Fair is back on Saturday, April 26th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Bethel Park Community Center. Whether you're a business looking for new talent or a job seeker searching for full-time, part-time, or seasonal work, this is the event for you. We'll have fantastic job seeker resources like interview prep, resume help, and much more. And the best part, it's all free. Don't miss out. Learn more at bethelparkpa.gov/jobfair. See you there.
Is live from the grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing amazing, Neil. How about you?
I'm fantastic. Our guest today is Catherine Carlin. I had Catherine on, I think, just the radio show. We weren't even doing the Zoom thing that at that point in time. And her career keeps growing. And we're going to talk today about The Residence and so much more. How are you, Catherine? Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, I'm great, honey. Thank you for contacting me again.
Hey.
Great to see you.
Hey, great to see you too. And it's amazing what's happened. But Greg, I'm going to let you start out with some questions for Catherine.
Yeah, cool. So since I didn't have the opportunity to meet you off Zoom, as Neil did, so Catherine, tell me, what was your aha moment when you realized that acting wasn't just going to be a hobby, but it was your thing?
Oh, aha moment. Can I just say, when I was a young girl and I was like a freshman in college, I was at the University of South Florida, and they were scouting for Burt Reynolds' movie of girls like down by, what was that movie? Deliverance? Was that it? 100 years ago. And they said, do you want to be in the movie? You could be in a movie. And I went, oh no, I'm a teacher. And no, I have no interest in being in a movie. But anyway, so fast forward, I ended up in New York and I was a model. And I modeled for San Angelo. Is that his name? He's long gone. I was a model. And he was always getting, Janice Dickinson was there with me on the runways. It was a big deal. I was the shrimp. I was like 5'8", and everybody was tall, and everybody was really skinny. And they used to always, here comes the fat one. I was so thin. I can't tell you, I didn't eat. but they called me the fat one. But anyway, Giorgio said, I think you're an actress, not a model. And I said, really? He said, yeah, you should go study acting. And that was my aha. He told me what to do. Giorgio St. Angelo. That was it. Giorgio St. Angelo. So he sent me off to some place in New York and I started studying. And then I ended up with Huda Hagen. And I think it was really her when she said, you've got it. You've got it. And I said, what do I have? A little girl from Cookeville, Tennessee. What do I have? And she said, you've got that magic thing and you need to do this. This is what you need to do. And from then on, it's been quite a journey.
And you ran with it then, right?
I ran with it, baby. I ran with it. I ran hard with it. I was married at the time to a man who did not want me to be an actress. He told me I would either leave him because I became famous or I wouldn't get jobs and I would be depressed. Okay, that sounds terrible. And anyway, I didn't care what he said. We ended up getting divorced, but not over that. But I just thought I have to do this. And it's like air. It's like I have to breathe. I have to act. So I've done it for a long time now. I'm going to be 72. Can you believe that?
Oh, wow.
I know,
Hmm.
72 in July 7th, I'll be 72. And I've been doing this since my 20s. So that's a long time to do it. And I had a baby in there. She's 31. And I took a little break when I had her because she was like the best movie I ever had. So I thought, I'll be a mommy now. And I did. And we had a great time with ponies and moved to Ojai and did all this. But I still wanted to act, but I wanted to be with her more. So I took this hiatus. And that's what's been difficult for me because I came back and I thought I left in my 40s and 50s. And I thought, oh, everybody's going to want me back. They could have cared less about me. They were like, oh, no one else left. You left. And so I started all over again. I went to AFI, I went to UCLA, and I signed up to do their student films. And I had to get new footage because Night Court and Married with Children and those little shows where I was being a little sexy gal, those days were over. And I thought, I'm going to have to do this, get footage, make a reel, get a manager, get an agent. I did it. And so I'm proud of my own self that I worked my way back to the point that I am now.
Better than the Rocky comeback story. That was amazing.
Yes. I like that. I actually did a movie with Sly, so that was fun to say that. I loved him.
Excellent.
was
Yeah, it's
great.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, besides that, you've had some other amazing roles. Do you have a favorite behind the scenes memory that still makes you smile or laugh when you think about it?
Oh, so many. Good question. So many behind the scenes, crazy ones. In my youth, a lot of crazy ones. I was thinking about Ghostbusters with Ivan Reitman. He was so cute. I went in to see him. He was in this hotel room and it was the Upper West Side. I remember that it was Central Park West. I don't know which hotel to be auditioned for the part of this hooker. And I was playing hooker after hooker. I was just a hooker in my 20s. That's what women played, really. We played hookers. And then I had a really great talk with him. And he said, are you going to be okay if Zool or whatever it was going to jump on top of you and knock you down? And I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to be fine about that. And I said, in fact, I can do my own stunts. I was broke and I wanted that money. He said, really? I said, oh, yeah, I can do that. So we go out to shoot it that night. And we shot really late, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning. And the horses were coming, the police, and I had hair. Back in the day, you had hair like out to here. And the horses stopped in my hair. And first of all, he jumped on me. And then I fall back onto this mattress. And then the horses stop in my hair. And it was like, then he pulled me aside. He said, are you sure you want to do that? Have you done stunts before? I'm like, no. So it was like those kind of moments are very sweet. And I tell you, LL Cool J, I'm going to shout out for him because he was the sweetest to me on that NCIS. Is that what it is? LA, NCIS LA. And I said, I'm just so nervous. I don't know why I'm so nervous. And he talked me off the ledge. He said, oh my gosh, you got this. And then he gave me all these great sayings and he put his arm around me. He took total care of me. And I find that to be true of all the big ones. I say the big ones, the ones that are really famous. They seem to be so nice and comfortable with helping. They're there for you. And I feel that way. Even Amy Adams and Sharp Objects. Amy, I was in the bathroom. I had to say this stuff. I don't know. It was one of the gossip ladies in the town of Sharp Objects. And it was going to be like, we've been working all day and we got into, now we're going to turn around on me. We had Elizabeth Perkins, we had Amy, but we're going to turn around on little me. I'm like in the bathroom and I didn't know she was there. And I was like trying to say it and practice. And she came up to me and she put her arm around me and she said, "You're going to be great. You've been great all day." It is like that stuff. I think that's the magic of it's like we're a tribe. I don't know. It's wonderful. I love being an actress with these incredible people. I've had that opportunity to work with really fabulous people.
And Catherine, what do you say when you had to come back and how hard it was, and then you came back and you get to this level and you're getting some interesting roles, and then this role with the Residents is totally different in a way because ultimately people are going to remember you even more about this. Some of them are smaller roles, but I think this year is really shaping where you're going further. Apart.
That's good news. Thank you for that great news. That was interesting. It was a self-tape. We do a lot of self-tape ever since the pandemic, which was like 5 years ago now. We've been self-taping, and I got cast off the self-tape. And I went to the reading. The reading was fantastic. It was all of us. And when you deal with Shondaland, you're at the top of the game. You deal with Netflix and Shondaland, forget about it. It doesn't get really bigger than that and better than that. And it was an incredible reading and all that. And I went over to Shonda and to Betsy Beers and I said, "You had me in Scandal and you had me in How to Get Away with Murder. And now I'm in The Residents and I played a judge and I played a governor and now I'm playing the former first lady." And they went, "We know, Catherine." Giving them news, they do that, all right? I said, "I'm just so excited. I'm so excited." And it was absolutely a fantastic experience because a lot of what you saw, a lot of things get cut. You know how things are. But I got to improv there a lot at the state dinner. And I mean, I don't know what it'll do for me, but I do know that I've had several, you're right. I've had several more auditions than usual recently. So maybe you're right. I have no idea what will happen. This is my belief. My belief, I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And I believe that there's favor. I believe that there's God. I have to lift it up all the time because I get my heart set on things. Like I had my heart set on something a few days ago. And I had to really work at lifting it up because it's supposed to be mine. It's going to be mine. And if it's not supposed to be mine, it's just not their vision. And it's really okay. I had that opportunity to act that day with that director on a Zoom. And, you know, what's better than that? Getting the job is better. But I just love what I do. I love what I do. And what was the question? Was there a question?
You did really good. You're just talking about that journey and where you're at. You're hearing me say that's the next level because doing Shondaland, getting this opportunity that you're going to be memorable. At times you'll say, "Hey, this is me in this specific part." But this time you were one of the roles. So Greg, I'll go with one. I watched The Residents. I loved it because it just reminds me of this whole Murder, She Wrote thing. I ended up interviewing people from Grosse Pointe Murder after Grosse Pointe Garden Society. And I said, these are the new things that are happening now that are really people have fun with. The whodunit type of murders, types of things. It was just so funny. And there were so many talented people on that. And your role was almost with some of these big giant stars that we know from years ago. And your role, and Greg, her role was as memorable. That's where I'm thinking people are going to say, "Oh yeah, remember me from The Residents." That's what you're going to have to put yourself out there in your branding with these directors that might just not know, or casting directors and they just don't know. And they say, "Oh, you were in a big Shondaland thing." Okay, now it's all about PR at the end of the day. But tell us about the show, and then Greg will have another question.
I played the former First Lady of the White House, Kim Abkin, and she was in the White House, which you didn't really learn from the show, for 8 years. So she had 2 terms in the White House. Where's her husband? I said he's dead. The writer did not say he was dead, but I decided he's dead. They invited me to the state dinner because I'm fun. and I am full of life, and I'm going to make the Australian people that are there happy and all this. But they seated me at a terrible table, you know what I mean, with no one next to me. And I was very upset about that. And I couldn't believe it. Also, I like to drink. I'm like one of those ladies. Remember one of those White House ladies, one of those first ladies, like Barbara Bush. She used to go downstairs in the basement and knit with the help. You know what I mean? She would go down there and do that. And she was friends with them. And Edwina, who plays one of the gals, the butlers, I loved her. And we had such a good time when I was in the White House. So I want her to sit next to me, which is the big no-no. The help can't sit down, but I decide she can, and I insist that she come. And then she gets in so much trouble for doing that. And then I am furious that this happened. And so the thing about the whole show is that Paul, who was the showrunner and creator of the show, Paul Davies, he has such a sense of humor and such a odd way of putting it together. And then he makes you think, oh, it's this one, oh, it's that one. My girlfriend said, I thought it was you for a minute. Maybe you did the murder because she was so upset with what they were doing to, her. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's good you thought that. And then we had to stay there for hours and hours because Uzo, who plays a detective, she's going to keep us and interview us. And I have just had it up to here. So one of my favorite parts is that I hold up, she makes us write our names down and hold up the sign so she can remember who everybody is. And mine says, I used to live here. And that's how I feel about it. It's okay. I didn't do it. Of course I didn't do it. And then she's interviewing me. She's blah, blah, blah. I said, when are we going to leave? I want to leave. I just want to go home. And I said, what if I said I did it? And then she was like, that would move things along. She was like, of course I didn't do it. And it was just such a great, and we were all I think we were like a theater group. Like we were all held together, and we were held in a green room when we were doing those scenes. And so we got to spend time together. Now, the sad part was that our lead actor, Andre Braugher, he died during the making of this. Did you know that?
No.
I saw that in the credits or whatever.
Yeah.
In memory.
We did 4 episodes with him.
Wow.
And he was the Giancarlo part. And I'd known him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so we had a good time reminiscing. I hadn't seen him in years, and he looked so well. He had cancer. It had been in remission.
Oh.
With the strike happens, if you remember that, but there was the strike, the horrible strike, the writer's strike first, and then the actors. So when we had to go on strike, we'd shot 4 episodes. And when we went on strike, a few weeks later, he died. And we didn't know what was going to happen for the show. We made that show 2 years ago. We didn't know what Paul was going to do with it. Is he going to replace him? Is he going to AI him? Or what is going to happen? And it took a long time for us to find out, but then they replaced him with Giancarlo, which I had done. So I had seen him, are you ready, in 40 years. And I was like, he looked exactly the same to me. He said I did too. But I'm telling you, we did a show in New York called Our Group. And it was about a group, like being in group therapy. And then each one of us got shrunk every week. And so it was a weird show. But there was a real psychiatrist. She was a fabulous Upper East Side psychiatrist. And she was unscripted. She would shrink the characters. We had scripts. And so anyway, we laughed and remembered that together. It was like ABC Daytime. It was a great idea. One season it was gone, but I think we did 64 episodes. But anyway, so he came in and he did a phenomenal job, but it was heartbreaking to lose Andre. And I was heartbroken. And I was really heartbroken. I have to tell you this because I thought Netflix and Shondaland were quite incredible for what they did. When he died, they sent out a letter and they said, if anyone needs counseling, that they had someone that back at our stages that was going to come in and help. And I went because I was very upset in the grief of it all. And then when I was talking about him and grieving him, and then she started talking about my mother, and I had no idea that I hadn't grieved my mother. So it was a big healing time for me. I had no idea. I thought I grieved her. I don't grieve a lot of things. I move on. As you said, I keep going. I just keep going.
No, see, I just believe something's bigger going to even happen than this, because I just see that you're memorable. And that's going to be a key thing when you do every audition is, do you remember me in The Residence? Some of the other stuff, I have to go back to say, I got to remember in Ghostbusters, right? And all these different places where these specific spots, but she moved her way up, Greg, to this level. But for The Residence, as we're promoting that, check her out on Netflix. Ultimately, this is the
I actually, Neil, I saw it. I remember it now. My wife and I, a week or 2 weekends ago, we watched it like in a day. We we loved it. It had some really cool things, like how the detective was really into the birds, and she was up in that bird stew. It was so cool. And they sent her the electronics, and she got to watch what was going on in Congress or the Senate. That was neat. The other part was amazing, was like in the Lincoln bedroom, they had to bring that in. Oh, I want to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Remember back in the Clinton days, that was a big thing. Hilarious. And then she takes out, she scrapes the paint away, and she sees the blood on the baseboard there. It was hilarious. And I love the chef was throwing glass, and that was so cool. It was great. And you, of course, were amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You were totally amazing. So it was really exciting. Yeah. We want to know if you're guys going to have another one. I
heard that there might be another one, but it's not going to be in the White House. It's like Mike White. It'll be like Mike White doing White Lotus. It'll be like somewhere else, and Uzo would be that, and I mean, I don't know. But wouldn't it be good if you made all of us like in there, just switched our parts up? I just throwing that out there.
And definitely they got to do that. Switch the parts up. Like Clue. Like Clue.
Yeah, exactly. Now I see that, but I don't know what they see. But I really think it was so well received. It had billions of watchers. I forget how many, but it really topped it off because Adolescence came out. That show was a knockout.
I saw that. Did you see Adolescence, Greg?
No, I did not.
That's so powerful.
Oh, you've got to see that. And that's the antithesis of our show. And it came out at the same time. So they were number one, we were number two. But then we bumped ahead the second week and got all these viewers because I think word of mouth really moves along. And I think at this time in our country that we need something to laugh about. And I think it's a show where you really can laugh. I feel like it's that feeling of Murders in the Building, don't you?
Yeah.
I'd say I had a mixture of Clue, other whodunits that were successful with comedy, almost Pink Panther comedy, different things, put all that together with, in fact, I guess, just anything and anything to whodunit and the way it's done and what do you mean, who did it? And then I guess bringing Bronson Pinchot back. Come on now. And bringing some of these other people back. Where were they? And then you then certain people like cameos, and you had a larger cameo and some of the bigger cameo people.
Yeah.
They brought everyone back.
I think that it was a star-studded cast. And I think that Shonda can get anything she wants. Shonda's our queen. Shondaland is it. If someone calls you and says, do you want to do something that Shondaland, they don't even have to get the word out. And you're like, yes. And Netflix is our king. So she's the queen. And think Netflix is the king. Because Netflix keeps shooting here in LA and we are in trouble shooting in LA. The incentives everywhere else are taking us out of town. So I'm hoping we'll get some bigger incentives, and Newsom will make that happen. And I know he wants to. Maybe it's a matter of time that we can get the business back. It's in Canada. They shoot in Georgia. They shoot everywhere. But here.
But you're going to be here to audition. That's what's crazy, right?
You can be anywhere. Think about it. You're self-taping. I can be.
Right. So there's no need to live in Hollywood anymore, you think?
There's no need to live here except if you want to do the few shows that we have. We have 911 or Grey's Anatomy. There's a few shows that, we can do here, but we could get those from anywhere. Actually, it's an international business now for actors. They're self-taping from everywhere. Can you imagine? They're looking at thousands of tapes, thousands. I don't know how they sift through them, how they have the time or the energy, it's a miracle to get an audition. And then when you get an audition, there's so many people that have gotten them.
And that's what your agent has to do. So Greg has a question he asks everyone. Do you have another question for Catherine before that, or are you ready to do your question?
No, I'm good. I'm all excited. Gonna go ask my wife if she wants to watch The Residence again. So
okay.
But yeah, honest to God, it was just one episode after another. We just like, and we were like, what do you mean it's over? What? That was
But
frustrating.
it was really wild, the ending of Who Did It. No,
Right.
Who Done It.
Which we
you
won't
know.
talk about.
Yeah. Because that'll make you not want to watch it. But it's like talking about White Lotus at the end. Let's not talk about what happened at the end.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Gotta watch it. But I think it was so clever and so well done and just brilliant acting. And the directors were incredible. We had 2 different directors, the first 4 episodes and the second 4 episodes. They were all wonderful. The crew and the set. Let's just give a little praise for that set. Building that White House. It was so gorgeous. It's all on stage. They built it, everything. So I'm just very proud of that. I'm proud of that work and so blessed that I got to do it. I'm thrilled.
Very cool. Catherine, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you and getting to know about your career and what's coming up and to
Thank
talk
you.
about the residents. But so this is a good opportunity for a little mentoring for me, for Neil, for everybody who's out there watching and listening. So tell me, Catherine, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
That was such a good question. It's a heavy question. What was the important thing I've learned in life? Several. So the first thing that came to my mind was to trust yourself. It's trust that it's going to work out. This too shall pass. It's not, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to everything. Is to trust that you're exactly where you're supposed to be at that exact moment. And trust goes along with forgiveness and to forgive yourself for whatever mistakes you made. No one's perfect. And it's to trust that this is a journey we're all on and that there's some power greater than ourselves that are watching over us and that not to be afraid. And I guess the biggest thing is to never give up.
Great. Terrific answer.
Because really, you never know what's going to happen next. So, Catherine, we're waiting for the next big gig. And remember, use that as a calling card, especially if they don't know you in your auditions. Make sure, hey, you didn't check me out in the residence. And that could, because a lot of people like name recognition, even if it's certain name recognition in shows. So you never know where that's going to get you to the next.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Yeah, you're welcome. So where can we check you out on social media? Best place.
Oh, I think you should just go to REAL, Catherine Carlin, CATHERINE, CARLEN, and that's on Instagram. I think that's the best place. You could do that on Facebook too. I think it's just Catherine Carlin there. And then I have a website, www.CatherineCarlin, real Catherine Carlin. I had to put real because someone else said my name. I don't know. But all those places are good. You just Google my name and there's a lot of choices.
Appreciate it.
There.
Thanks again,
Thank you.
Catherine.